Hi everyone, this is Ivan Alvarado with Level Cap Interactive. Today I'll be reviewing God of War Ascension. Since 2005, gamers have followed Kratos through his tortured life, as he waged a one-man war against the gods of Greek mythology. Now, 8 years later, we are being brought back to the beginning, where Kratos is set out to find the truth behind why he killed his family, meanwhile trying to stay one step ahead of the powerful Furies. Set 6 months after the murder of his wife and daughter, we are reintroduced to Kratos as a more humbled, confused, and less angry man. This may feel odd initially, but makes sense, as he has not yet chosen to enact his revenge on Ares. The story in Ascension may seem to play out somewhat slower by not having as many set-piece moments as the other entries, but it still stands as an excellent story. Overall, it may not be what some are expecting, but it succeeds at what it sets out to do. God of War Ascension is beautiful, bloody, and the character models are jaw-dropping. Even the level of detail put into Kratos' expressions during combat are a true testament to the developer's dedication. It says something when routine enemy deaths grab my attention as much as the Helios death scene in God of War 3. Enemy executions are a visual treat for anyone used to the pure violent insanity that has been a staple of the God of War series. One particular enemy gets his cranium split, which in turn exposes his brain. Through all of this, you're always left with Kratos standing alone, covered in his enemy's blood. The sense of scale that the series is known for is still there, and Ascension does pull a few new tricks to wow the player, but at no moment does this entry surpass what's come before it. I do have one major problem with God of War Ascension though, and that's starting a new Game Plus file. If there's any advice you take from this, it should be to create a separate save profile before starting a new Game Plus, as trophies are not allowed to be collected once it's started, and it's not mentioned to you until you are too far to go back. Other than that, the campaign is fantastic, and should be experienced by anyone even remotely interested in this title. God of War Ascension's gameplay is spot on, and doesn't change much of the old formula. Kratos' animations are smooth and combat is better than ever. More of an emphasis has been placed on learning the parry system, and enemies now attack much more often, giving you less time to pull off the long, uninterrupted combos from prior games. Some of the buttons have been remapped for new moves to be added, and while it's a small change that takes some getting used to, it doesn't hinder the experience. This entry stays away from giving Kratos anything other than the Blades of Chaos. That may sound bad, but they've supplemented different weapons for different god powers that give Kratos his new magic and special moves that can be changed in real time. There have also been disposable weapons added that can sometimes be taken from your enemies. They're not anything special, but they do give a nice mix to the combat. Although there is plenty of good to say about Ascension, it does have its flaws. Through my playthrough I experienced a number of visual bugs, but the worst of them all was being knocked through the floor to my death. Of these issues, falling through the floor was the only one that marred my experience. At no point during my playthrough of the campaign did I find myself getting tired of hearing the bone-jarring crunch of Kratos' fists. The sound design team did an excellent job of capturing the essence of brutality and putting it on display for us to hear. From the heavy musical score of the larger set-piece moments, the softer, more compassionate score for the slower, character-building portions of the story, and to the sound of your adversaries being systematically slaughtered, it's all just a feast for the ears. The voice acting, as expected, is also exceptional. The multiplayer in Ascension is very deep, and if you're not careful, you will find yourself dying a lot. Combat while playing online is very fast and virtually lag-free. It can become difficult to see where your character is sometimes in the middle of a large fight, but other than that, the camera does a fine job of tracking the player. There are a ton of items to unlock, and plenty of levels to achieve, as each of the 4 gods have their own level trees. The arenas are also well designed, despite the small number of them. From multi-tiered rooms with traps to larger open areas, the arenas feel open enough to give the player variety and room to escape without leaving you ever feeling lost or claustrophobic, with a number of the usual online match types included. The real standout is the online co-op added to the Challenge of the Gods. This is a series of extremely difficult tasks that you and a partner take on enemies under a strict time limit while gaining time for each kill. Matchmaking was one of the biggest problems with multiplayer, sometimes causing you to wait in a lobby for up to 5 minutes before the start of a match. Fortunately, through patches, that problem has been taken care of, and waits are not any longer than one would expect them to be. Although it feels as if more work was put into creating an innovative multiplayer aspect, than an innovative single-player experience, that doesn't mean that the campaign is anything less than spectacular. If you're an existing fan or a newcomer looking for an exciting new game to sink your bloodthirsty teeth into, look no further than God of War Ascension. My recommendation, buy it for the campaign, stay for the multiplayer, you won't regret it.